Hello, and welcome to Unfiltered and Overloaded. And yes, we've been nominated for the National Diversity Awards in the category of role models. God help them. And this is the podcast where the volume is high, the filters are off, and the vibes are very neurodivergent. And today, we really are autistic, we hope, because that's who we are. That's what we're focusing on. This is the space where autism and ADHD run the mic. Queer voices take centre stage, and being too much is actually the point. We're talking real life, real chaos, real feelings, with humour, honesty, and just the right amount of dramatic flair. Expect laughs that take hot takes and conversations that bounce around faster than an ADHD brain at 2 a.m. So buckle up, stim freely, be yourself unapologetically, and get ready. And be ready, whatever you want to be, because this is Unfiltered and Overloaded. And it's an episode that I can't remember the number of, but we're celebrating Autism Week, and it starts right now. Hello, Croy. Well, I'm really good at counting numbers, aren't I? We looked at number 5 and I thought we've done more than 5 now.
Yes, yeah, I do believe this is number 8, if my autistic brain is right.
It's interesting. We were talking about autism and ADHD, and everyone seems to assume that it's like you're autistic, that's it. Oh, you're ADHD, that's it. And we were talking about how our flavours, our sort of degrees of autism and ADHD are actually quite complementary. I think you were saying about you being possibly more autistic than ADHD, and I'm definitely more ADHD than autistic, but we still have both, let alone all the rest of the things that run along.
I think we all have those different energies. Like I was saying earlier on, Philip has been out to play. I'm both getting new phones. I've gone for a bright orange one. My partner's gone for a nice deep blue one. And I really didn't give a fuck about the price. I just sat there and went, yep, that's fine. I didn't even bother to haggle. Well, actually, I got so bored because the woman didn't speak at all. Not at all. Just was kind of just greeted us and that was it. An hour we sat there in silence. I felt so awkward. Like I had to keep thinking in my autistic brain, Croy, say something, say something. And I kept asking questions like, you know how some of these iPhones now can be charged with a magnetic charger? And I said, oh, does this come with that built in? Well, if you had it 2 years ago, I suppose so. It's like, okay, that's all I'm getting. And you think I'm the weird one? Like, because I've got autism and I'm sitting here trying my best. I'm kind of going through the social cues in my head going, okay, I've done the small talk. I've said hello. Where's the back and forth? Where's that kind of tennis game of I say something, you say something, then I can banter off that. Nothing. Even Ryan nearly fell asleep in the corner. I had to keep kicking him. Going, please wake up, because they just don't talk, like nothing. And then I could see her down the side of the till texting on her own phone. And I was like, seriously, you're texting when a customer is here? Like no customer service at all. And I just, as soon as it was over, I was like, yep, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Next time I am doing it online, 100% online.
Oh, telephone, the people on telephone are really good. I suppose it depends on your provider, but yeah, if I go into a shop, 9 times out of 10, they have to make the phone call to the people on the centre. So I just think I do it there, and I can actually Google search, go through things, ask questions. I can get all the specs up. Makes it so much easier. I also find a lot of the shops, I just get sensory overload. I just get sensorily overwhelmed and overloaded. There's people wandering around. I'm trying to listen to the conversation if there is one, unlike you.
Yeah. I mean, technically I was overloaded because there was a really nice sexy man cleaning the windows. That kind of passed the time.
Yeah. Distracted.
That passed the time really well. I mean, that was fun, but no, it's that thing of just have a conversation.
I just suddenly had the thought of, didn't you go outside and go, excuse me, but you've missed that spot, and missed that spot, just to get them to stay a bit longer.
Should have done, shouldn't I? Yeah. It's just that thing of trying to get just a conversation, something. Like I've made the effort to go to that store to go in there, give you business, at least like they don't even offer you a drink anymore. Like, not even, I mean, how much is water for God's sake? Just have one of those bloody machine things with the bottle that bubbles up all the time. Just something to welcome you. I mean, we're going to be sitting there an hour. And I even told her that I wanted the phones delivered to the house. So at the end of the session, she goes, "Oh, so I'll have them delivered to the store then." I was like, I can't be bothered. I just couldn't be bothered going back and asking her to change it. I was like, seriously, like you don't take note of anything. But anyway, that's enough. I'm bored of talking about Philip had a good play.
But that's a really good thing, though, because one of the things that people don't realize, and when if you look at autism, let alone with ADHD, when something bugs us, it's like we are beyond the dog with the bone. It will just sit with us. It seems to impact us at a level that it's like you can't get rid of it. And people say, "Oh, just let go." I really wish the word, again, back to that word, just
Yeah.
let go. I would like to, but it's there. And it's
Yes.
like, it is there. And it's like, this is the sensory input that has dominated my capacity, the channels. And at the moment, that's filled my channels. And
Mm.
it takes a hell of a lot longer to move it out of the way,
Yes.
which is sounds very incongruent with the distractibility that you can get with ADHD. But the fact that you can have this that's really kind of filled up certain channels, our channels, and yet we get that part of us that goes, "Oh, that's a nice fella. Can you just?" But somehow it's imprinted. No matter how what you're doing elsewhere, all of a sudden it comes out in conversation. It's in your text. It's in your conversation. It's just seems to fix, and it's almost like like the piping that has calcium buildup. It's like
Yep.
it's like you know that it's still there. It's like you have to flush something through to get rid of it. It's like 3, 4, 5 times of, and because it can take a while to clear that channel, that input. And it can take not just hours or days. It can still really sit with you for like weeks, months.
Yes. Yeah.
And people say, "You're repeating yourself." You keep repeating yourself. You go, "It's not just bad memory, it's still sitting there and I can't get rid of it."
Yeah, yeah. That's it, isn't it? It's just trying to work out why things sit with you. And then people do go back to that word that just do this. And I want to turn around and go, congratulations, you've just cured my ADHD and autism. Well done. I hadn't thought of that before. Congratulations. And it's just bizarre. I mean, it gets to me sometimes how we're viewed as the weird ones. As soon as you say you've got autism, people will go, "So you're not smart then?"
Were you considered before you got the diagnosis and realized that's how your brain was wired? I mean, I've been considered weird all my life, but the labels were very different. Been your journey? What has been your journey? Because you're saying when you say you're autistic, you're now treated like as if you got two heads. But
Yeah.
what was your journey before then? When you look back at it now, how does your perception of your journey during that journey, and then when you look back at it, I mean, how does that change? How does that sort of affected you?
So I was always thought of the weird, quiet kid. That's, the shy. I always used to call myself the shy country lad from next door. I didn't make a lot of friends. I had like one close friend in primary school. I had so every time I came back from kind of any kind of like school or things like that, I would always want to get out of the uniform as soon as possible. I did not want to conform. Did not want to hang around outside the shop for hours in my uniform. That was not me. When I was very so at primary school, and I still have this item to this day, I was actually given some birthday money and I brought a garden gnome, and he is called Gnomey Gnome. So original, but he has never been in the garden. He's always come with me in every single house, and I took him in for show and tell. So I can kind of go, I've really been hyper focused on this item I'm 45 now, and I've been hyper focused on this item for years. If he ever got broken, I would be devastated.
Out.
So, then going to high school, I mean, obviously, I thought, to be honest, I thought my differences was my sexuality. I thought it
Yeah.
was liking boys. So from like maybe about age 7, I remember kind of kissing my best friend under a blanket on the kind of neighbour's lawn and kind of thinking, oh, actually, this is quite nice, you know? So I knew from kind of a young age that I didn't fit in. Going to high school just got even worse. And the threat of having to shower in front of people was like, yeah, no, that wasn't going to happen. That would have been my worst nightmare. So when I kind of realized afterwards, and I mean, it took me a while, I came out quite late. I mean, I was kind of maybe middle 20s. I went through an engagement with a woman, didn't suit me. I knew it was wrong. So it's that thing of you're always told, have you tried? Yeah, didn't work for me at all.
My headspace here. Have you tried being straight?
Yeah, that's it. That's the question.
Like getting engaged because I'm trying. God, that's
Yeah. That's the world that we live. I mean, don't forget that's the world we lived in, and it hasn't really changed that much.
nothing.
Still got celebrities hiding and being told, don't do this because it will ruin your career. And it's so hard. So, I mean, when I did finally kind of, I mean, the thing is, I say I came out, but I didn't actually have a coming out. So I don't have a coming out story as such because that's the one thing that I miss. I wish I did have a coming out story. My coming out story to my mum was coming home wearing a ring on my kind of engagement finger and just saying, don't worry, it's not an engagement ring, it's a promise ring. I mean, this was like after a summer romance with Ryan. So God knows where she thought I was going because somehow I got out of the house and into a guy's car and went away for the summer. And it's
Yeah.
like, I look back now and go, what did my mum think? I mean, this is the only thing that I wish my mum had have asked me. And I've debated over this for a while. I mean, we watched Queer as Folk together, Will and Grace together, but she never actually asked. And I think that she most probably thought she was doing the right thing, which is really nice in some way. But I think I would have appreciated someone just saying,
So you're saying that was your dominant journey, but
yeah,
was anything else apart from the sexuality that also made you think you were looking at the world differently? Or was that initially the primary thing?
that was the primary thing was I just thought it was all sexuality.
So the
Right.
whole behavior, like everything was all to do with
Yeah.
sexuality. So at what point did you begin to think, it's not my sexuality, there's something else going on?
Yeah. I mean, I think when you kind of after the initial thing of having, let's just call it a flirtatious phase of meeting people and going, yeah, actually, this is quite interesting. This feels right. You still then go, huh, that didn't fix it. That didn't fix that feeling of why do I not have friends? Why do I not want to go places? Why do I still feel overwhelmed in situations? So then, I mean, autism wasn't a word in our house. I didn't know it. I mean, the only thing I had in high school was a friend that had yellow glasses. I didn't know that was dyslexia. I didn't know that. These words were not in our world. The only thing I had in my family was my brother had a speech therapist. And this speech therapist came in, but nobody ever looked my way. I must have done a really good job of masking because nobody, no teachers, nobody ever looked and said, there's something different.
Ask you then, were you quiet? You said you were quiet and conforming and you followed the rules.
Yes.
That's what a lot of people with dyslexia, neurodivergence, a lot of the times, from what I can gather from the research, is that it's the quiet conforming. And if you're generally ticking over about average in your academic performance, they're only concerned if you're disruptive and you're down on the low
Yeah.
score.
Yeah. That was it. I mean, we used to have this woman come to the house that used to give us free toothpaste. I don't really know who she was or why she was there, but we ended up with a bin full of this white toothpaste for some reason. Never ran out of the stuff. But no, I mean, to be honest, I didn't view anything until my half sister said, do you think you might be? Do you think? And she started to talk about Asperger's, which I know we don't use that anymore, but started to talk about that terminology. And then I started to kind of think, okay. And I mean, this started when I was just starting my counseling journey. So I was in college. So again, I did college really late because I didn't know where I fitted. I mean, in between kind of the sexuality, I flitted around jobs. I had no idea what I wanted to be because anything I was good at, I could take any job and be good at it. So I didn't have a calling I made jewelry, I did t-shirts, I worked in kind of clothes stores. I could do anything. I could fit. I went all the way to London by myself, went all the way to Scotland by myself. Prior diagnosis, I could function, as I call it. I could do stuff. Then when I get to kind of college, when I start the diploma, so level two, go through level two, absolutely fine. Still not really even thinking that I'm anything but the shy, weird kid. Level three, nothing. Get to the diploma, which is a 2-year course, and I start thinking more about it. It suddenly becomes more to the front of my mind, more prevalent. And I go to this college, and this is where the journey gets a bit real because I went to the college to have a look around during the summer when it was quieter. Should have given the game away that I needed quiet space and I needed to know the outlay, which I now know is my blueprint option that I have. But the woman there, the support worker, was ADHD herself, which I didn't know at the time. And I said, I am thinking that I might be autistic. And she took one look at me and said, you definitely are, Croy. It shines out of you. And I was like, I mean, I still feel like, holy shit, that really felt like someone had just ripped my chest open, had a really good look at my soul and gone, I see you for the first time. Yeah.
That's wonderful, but excruciatingly painful.
Yes. Yeah. Really kind of like made me take a couple of gulps and go, okay.
Yeah.
That started that journey of, well, let's just go for it. I mean, I didn't really know what this word meant.
For you then, when you had this kind of like, it shines out of you. I mean,
So I would have been kind of late 30s,
yeah.
kind of late 30s and starting. Then you go through the diagnostic process, which I found, I mean, mine, I will say, was reasonably good. It was online. I had a chat with a guy, really nice and friendly. I didn't feel like I couldn't see where the questions were. I wasn't able to tell I was being judged or interviewed or anything. It just felt like this, having a nice conversation. I was able to recall things that had happened and noises and sounds. And then it was like, you get the big report. And I was like, okay, yeah. When you get the kind of, almost, yes, we would like to tell you that you are autistic. You're kind of like, "Oh, does that now fill the gaps in?" And of course, we know that there's other diagnosis that comes with it, which obviously it did. I still, to this day, do not feel whole. I don't feel I've been seen fully yet. I think there's a lot more to come out. And that's what I'm learning through podcasts like this. It's like hearing electricity. I thought I was one of the X-Men. I was like, oh my God, I'm a superhero. I can hear electricity. No
Now,
one else can
that's
do
with
this.
the whining of the fluorescent tubes,
Yes.
and you can hear the hum in
Yeah.
cables sometimes, especially at certain things. Yeah, you're right. And I see that sensitivity of sound is often a very neurodivergent thing, sensitivity of smell, sensitivity of sound, and
Yes.
things like that. But I have found that other sensitive are now really seem to be even more so. So I find the sensory stuff about clothing and fabrics is much, much more heightened. And it was bad beforehand, but there's things like colors now. I can't cope with certain things, that the obsessive tendencies towards visual stuff. Okay, I know my office may look like it's has to do with the aphantasia because I can't visualize, so I need the visual cues and things. No, I think that whole sense of discovering that in your late 30s. I mean, I discovered mine last year as I turned 61. I got the report. I got the assessment before I had, and I got so 61 was kind of that in itself was an interesting being so late diagnosed, but
Yeah.
it's what is it about when people have all these labels that are often unhelpful beforehand? I mean, you described in previous podcasts how you've been called all sorts of names.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that people talk about labels. Oh, I don't want to be labeled. But have they seen the labels that you have anyway? I mean, I think of the labels I've had, and I would certainly not want those labels. If I'd been diagnosed earlier, much earlier, some of those labels that have been added on all the way through, even to the diagnosis of ADHD in 2020 and then autism, those labels, those little names, and you end up doing it to yourself as well. I think I'd rather have had that label of ADHD and autism and dyslexia and all that. I'd have rather had that label because then I would understand who I am because it's a signpost. But the others make you feel like you are a shameful problem, and you end up hurting yourself because you end up taking those on deeply. I think when you got that diagnosis, what happened to those labels that you got given before?
I think they still stay. I think I've realized that that is my strength. You know, I can be shy, I can be quiet, but actually, I've got huge amounts of empathy, which lead me to do this counseling role. Because I think it was roundabout, I would say my empathy has always been there, and my people watching skills have always been there. But my empathy really kind of cranked up round about the age of 15. I
Yeah.
remember sitting watching, like, Red Nose Day, which I'd watched for years before and I was absolutely fine, and the tears started to come, and then after that, I cry at adverts. I cry at Facebook Reels, for God's sake. Doom scrolling for me is not fun.
So this is one of the big myths about autism, that we don't have empathy. And I love the research that popped up one day on Facebook, and I got the link somewhere, but God, I've got all these links we need to put in. I do need to put them in our Facebook page and whatever. Was it autistic people are likely to be hyper empaths, and they reckon 60% of people with autism are hyper empaths. 60%.
Yeah.
And then the rest is kind of like a spectrum. That sense of empathy, I saw that in my eldest. Uh,
Mm.
and they were like barely 2 years old, and they saw these children on the television, in the children's television, these little babies all in plant pots, and they literally exploded. They burst into tears, ran to the TV as if they were trying to take the children out of plant pots.
Yeah.
And then the overwhelm just shut them down.
Yeah.
It was such an intense thing.
Yeah. There's so many feelings that go with it. I love my hyper empathy. I love sitting there now and just, if someone walks in, maybe into a session or that, I just have a connection with them. I know if it's going to be a good session. I know how to connect with people. And that's weird saying, I know how to connect with people, yet put me in a different situation. I'll be the one in the corner trying the damnedest to get out of the room. I don't want to communicate with certain people, but like how we do, we have conversations, like even these podcasts, we start over here and somehow we end up over here. I don't always know what happens in the middle. I don't know the journey because we just go like this.
And I think that's very much the ADHD
Yep.
and the dyslexia and memory. But also we get interested in little side things, and they're very interesting, and that because it's still part of the theme.
Yes.
And I think that's because I I must admit, when you think over the decades, they saw autism as a boys thing, a male thing, and the recognition that females could have it, and all those in between. You're talking about sexuality and all that.
Yeah.
It's really interesting that I didn't really see the autism. I didn't realize how much that played in but I look back now and I can see how it did. And the reason I started recognizing was, I was in my mid late 30s when I got told I had fibromyalgia and hypermobility. During the course of dyslexia training, I thought I was dyslexic, and they said everybody feels dyslexic. And then one of the tutors came out, which we mentioned earlier, and then, oh my goodness, you really are dyslexic. And they gave me like a 2-month extension to sort out the portfolio because I had a baby and a toddler. It was in my 40s that I finally got diagnosed when I was going to do my master's degree. And that was a real relief.
Yeah.
All those labels: fat, stupid, slow, emotional, attention seeking, obsessive, all these other labels that kind of go through with ADHD and autism. It was then in my 40s, I just got diagnosed with celiac disease and coming off the gluten triggered an early menopause.
Mm.
And my life fell apart from the age of 44.
Yeah.
And it just fell apart. I was broken. But because I was fighting mental health and everything else for my kids, by that time, my eldest had been diagnosed with autism. My son eventually got diagnosed with ADHD with autistic traits. The middle one, just as you, seemed more competent. They were quieter. They seemed to just go with things, not realizing that it had gone inwards. The person, it had gone inwards, and the trauma that's caused, and they had other difficulties. So we were focusing on the physical difficulties and various other things. So when you start going to all of that, you're on the back burner. You're in
Mm,
survival mode.
yeah.
And I didn't realize. I mean, I couldn't understand why my menopause. I mean, everyone was saying, "Oh, mine's not so bad." Mine was raging all the way through.
Yeah.
And as when I started this job, a student actually said, I want you to know that you've got all the red flags for extreme ADHD because of the degree they were doing. It was like, I said, well, I do know ADHD is genetic and I'm dyslexic and it's a genetic pick and mix bag. And I was at breaking point
Yeah.
mentally, emotionally. And I just thought, I either exit the planet because I feel like I am not doing anyone any favors, let alone myself, or I'm going to try and find something out. And I had just enough money to go and pay privately for an ADHD QB test with the Liverpool ADHD Foundation. Then I got diagnosed with ADHD in 2020. I also met someone with ADHD who was a nurse and suggested I go privately for my HRT. And I kept thinking, why do you take things so literally? Why do you, there was all these questions, and I sat there and really looking at my kids, especially with one of them who'd been diagnosed with ADHD with me. We were starting to think they may be on the autistic spectrum. And apparently I came out normal, having done it twice.
Right.
And then it came out as 80%. Like, okay. And that's when I went to psychiatry and said, I just want to know.
Yeah.
And I must admit, the assessment was in two parts. The forms to fill out were grueling, but the first assessment was all these questions, and I was a wreck. I was no eye contact. I was shaking. I felt really vulnerable. I think I would say that I was the most triggered and overwhelmed, and definitely all that autism came out. And when I did my second part of the assessment with a beautiful interview, both guys were really, really, really great. The guys from the first one said, you do realize we had to do this. We needed to really see, because you are high functioning in many areas and because of your background, they basically had to break my coping strategies.
Yeah.
And that was so painful. And
Yes.
then the interview afterwards was so lovely. And he just said to me, you are clearly autistic with ADHD. I had to do it on my own and learn to restructure. With ADHD, yes, I've fucked up. Yes, I've done crazy things. Yes, you could have go, shoulda, coulda, woulda, whatever, just whatever. No, but it put me where I am now.
Yes.
And I look back and I think, I wouldn't wish what I'd gone through on other people, but I proudly hold the labels of autism. Like, that was the hardest one to come to terms with,
Wow.
because I think it was the one that but I also realized it's that has been something underneath me that has really plagued me. The quiet part, the sensory overload, not coping with certain foods, but having to conform to eat them. I couldn't just be ADHD and go, I'm not eating this. Or it was like, and one of the things they say about autism and ADHD with women is the estrogen makes you compliant often. Higher levels of the estrogen, you're more likely to be compliant, you're more likely to hide.
Yeah.
And the shame that goes around a lot of those obsessive tendencies, the scratching, the hair pulling, the sensory stuff, the stimming that you get shamed over, you internalize. And I think for me, I'm beginning to realize a lot of people who don't get diagnosed till late really develop a complex form of trauma.
Yeah. That's it. See, I'm like you. I love my labels. I love who I am because it also put me in the right space at the right time. We wouldn't be here doing this if I didn't have those labels.
But
There's a freedom that comes with a diagnosis, I found,
yeah,
because it's that permission to suddenly be yourself. And I felt like when I got the diagnosis, it was like after you've eaten Christmas dinner and you can undo your belt and just go, oh, I was like, yes, we've spoke about this before. Oh, we're all a little bit autistic. Well, no, fuck off. No, we're not all that, and it's like people like automatically, if you tell someone you're autistic, they start talking to you. I've had it where someone will talk to me really loudly and I'm like, I'm not deaf. I'm here. Talk to me. Or they'll talk to Ryan and I'm right there and I'm like, me, talk to me. I'm here.
or even in a wheelchair. I've talked to friends who have been in wheelchairs and they said people bend down and go, how are you, dear? It's like,
Yes. Yeah, that reminds me, I actually saw a Facebook reel earlier on. Of course I did, scrolling away. Like I never look at anything else. Of course there is a and there is a girl, a lady, I can't remember what her name is now, but she's in a wheelchair and she goes around places to show you the accessibility. And they were kind of looking at, how people will lean on your wheelchair when they're talking to you. Or if you've sat down, they'll move your chair out of the way for you without asking. And this other woman went around and, sometimes they've got like the wheelchair bell outside for someone to come and put a ramp out. She tested some of these, only about one shop answered the bell.
Wow.
And this is in London. The rest of the shops ignored the bell, didn't even come. So it's like we have to yell and scream about who we are because nobody is listening. Are they training their staff to listen for the bell, to know what that means?
Yes. I mean, you talked about blueprints and maps. One of the questions on PIP is like, can you plan a journey? Well, do you know what? What they don't really ask is, can you plan a journey that doesn't take you 3 days to do it and you're exhausted because you're cross checking and you're making sure that all the road works? Have you got your plan A, B, C, and D in case that road's closed? Because the anxiety of not knowing where you're going. I mean, yeah, I could plan a journey. I could go somewhere, but the effort, the time, the backup plans was huge. You see, this is where they don't really think about if you're an intelligent, problem solving autistic. You try so hard to be independent, but the cost of it means you're knackered for the next 3 days.
Yeah. Yeah. We spoke there about isolation, transitioning, structure, and also I'm still hearing what you said about through kind of before the journey started, like, kind of that pressure of I might as well not be here. And I'm thinking about we know we spoke about this before, like on Tuesday was the anniversary of my mum's death. And I'm thinking about so she didn't get to see this side of me. She never got to see the autistic, the dyslexic, the ADHD, the kind of glorious thing. And on that day, I was actually decided to go and have a photo shoot done for a new website. So I will give a shout out to Toby from Headshot in Lincoln. And I just stood there and there was a moment where I was in like this. Well, you saw the photo. I was in like a pink top, nice silver jacket, bit of pink in my quiff. And I just thought, what a difference years make.
Yeah, I was just thinking about your mum not seeing you. I actually, as being a mum, I'm actually feeling really sad
Yeah.
because I look at my three and, I'm realizing I'd missed the autism in one of them. And that really, really broke my heart. I felt like I really failed as a mom. I mean, I'm spiritual. I feel like your mom is probably sitting there going, go for it, Croy. I mean, I feel like, but it's when you said that to me and then you messaged me and we had a chat. Yeah, the feeling of like I wish my dad who died in '99. I wish my dad could see me where I am now. I really wish he could see me. I must sometimes feel like sometimes energetically his consciousness is going, wow, you're leading a weird life, girl, but you're doing your life.
Yeah. This is, oh, don't you? You set me off now.
I know. I'm sitting here trying not to cry because it's like,
It's just that thing of I was remembering what I was doing in 2013 on that day, and I know the phone call came early, and I know this is also part of my weird brain that I had to take the phone call. I was not gonna let anybody else contain that news. So I know I put myself around I call it the explosion, so nobody else would feel it, but I'm still feeling it.
yeah,
And it's lots of little explosions. But just for the other day, I was able to really enjoy it.
that's an amazing photo. That
Thank
was such an amazing photo. I mean, the pink shirt, the little pink quiff against the blue sky, and there was white sort of in the kind of of the buildings. It was like you could almost be somewhere in America, kind of on one of those really nice hot. You just looked stunning. I would say you look hot, sweetheart, but you also looked radiant. It wasn't just the physical look. It was that look of just sheer confidence of I am Croy.
What I was thinking of, so when my mum passed away, yes, I have tattoos. So you can't see them now. You can see them in some of the pictures. I have a tattoo on this arm. which I got after she passed away. And this is hard, but I'm always very honest about it, and I will tell clients about it because you said it earlier on. I was that close to not being here, that close to
Yeah.
not be. I've never said this before, so Ryan is going to hear this for the first time on the podcast. I had a plan. I had a plan. I step back and go, look at what people would have missed. Look at what people would have missed.
I'd have missed meeting one of my besties. I mean, I said to you last night, you are one of my besties. You know, you are, God, I'm going to cry.
We're a right mess today, aren't we? We need makeup.
It's, you know, we were talking about this journey, but we was also talking about grief and joy at the same time. You know, grief and joy really exists together. You know, you get this feeling of like, you should be grieving and you should be totally sad. But I can still remember doing eulogies for my dad and for my grandmother. And there was something I remember distinctly when I was doing it for my dad. There was basically a collection of quotes of people that just flooded in with things. There was such pride and such joy reading out those things for my dad. I always felt like he was next to me. And there was a grief, but there was a joy that he'd be my father.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, parents don't always get it right. If you're grieving and still feeling that loss, you can still have a delight and a joy in being alive because of who we are. You can still have pleasure and fun, even if you're going through a period of grief.
Yeah.
It's okay to have complex different feelings because it's a reminder that we need to live and live fully and accept people and be inclusive and enable people and empower people to be their fully selves, whether they're queer, whether they're in monogamous marriages or open marriages or polyamorous or whatever, whether they are neurodivergent or disabled in a wheelchair. If we just made things that little bit easier for everybody and just everybody made a little bit more effort, and if we collaborate together, we ride on that wave of success together. It's when we divide and conquer and bicker and bigoted and we're constantly, then we all lose. We all lose.
It's just so sad that why can't people just get on? You know, I see so many, like I've been following this trans teacher and the comments are horrendous, just horrendous. And it's like, why is that all we see? You know, why can't people just see Croy and Jays? Just see us.
I think so many people are so insecure about who they are that they move to the position of let's devalue the others so we feel more powerful and better ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah, this is it, isn't it?
We lose cohesion as a community. We lose cohesion as families. We end up resentment. Everyone's bickering. Everyone's blaming. But all we have to do is look, here we are. We're all different. We all can contribute in different ways. Let's collaborate, co-create, celebrate.
Yeah, I think that's it. If we can all celebrate. And I guess this is why I now, going back to the diagnosis and all of that, I have a purpose. I know why I'm here. I know that. And yeah, it's taken me a little while to listen to the universe, and I may have just not listened sometimes or not been paying attention, but boy, does that universe come and slap you again. It shakes you until you're like, all right, I will start listening.
Yeah.
It puts you in the right places, as we're finding now.
Oh, yeah.
We are not here to just accept stuff. We are here to completely tear it down, rebuild it so that people start accepting
Yeah.
us. And why we're doing this. Yes, okay, today we've been a bit of a mess. We've had a cry, but that's free therapy for you. I will bill you later.
And parcel of the journey, we were talking about the journey of diagnosis. And yet we haven't covered a fraction of what we could have done. But there is grief and there is joy.
Yes.
And we've lost people on the way, but they've inspired us. And I think that moment when I didn't want to live, I just remembered my children. And I look at you and I remember when I first met you and I see where you are now.
Yeah. And this is what we go and we suddenly realize that, yeah, right now I choose life. I
Yeah.
choose it freely, willingly, and I want to be here because I know what I'm here to do. And that's so freeing when suddenly you go, ooh, I can do a little chaos. I can do things, and there is that thing. I mean, I sent you it the other day. There's that song in Wicked, For Good, and it was like, yeah, I am completely changed now. And I know there's a lot more fun, and we're not going to stop until we create a lot of chaos.
Just listening and seeing how you've just blossomed in the time since I've known you and seen you really find yourself. But I think the biggest thing about finding your purpose was that suddenly I saw you one day and I realized you accept Croy for Croy.
Yeah.
And that was one of the most wonderful moments. And I'm going to start crying again. It was like, that was one of the most beautiful, privileged moments when I suddenly saw you, Croy. Just literally, I saw how you sat, how you were, and you could see that you accepted you for you. And that there was no right or wrong inside you. And I know how I felt when I suddenly found that in me. I know that freedom, that sense of wow. And yet it was also probably some of the most painful journeys in moving into being me, but being accepting. But seeing you, you're glorious, autistic. You've got autism, you've got ADHD, you've got dyslexia, you've got so much. But that was just a part of Croy, just being Croy. And it's just been so inspirational. We've officially got a mutual appreciation society. You do realise that we are so kind of like girling away at each other.
We are everywhere now. I mean, that's it, isn't it? We're on Spotify, YouTube, Facebook. Follow us, subscribe. Brilliant. Ask us questions.
And we have a couple of other platforms which I can't remember.
Yeah, I think it's Apple Music, Amazon Music. I need to get a whole list of them. We've got the intro down. We just don't always have the outro down because we never know when to shut up talking.
That's why the podcasts vary in length.
That's why.
But then there's the ADHD side of us that gets us into trouble, which is really glorious.
Yeah. That's it, isn't it? I mean, I suppose we should bring it to an end. So, do you want to say goodbye to people?
Yeah, we better say goodbye, shouldn't we? Listen, I hope you've enjoyed today. There might be things that will be brought up that might be a bit painful, that might even be triggering. And, please go and find support. And, and if you want to bring any of the topics up on our Facebook page, please feel to. And if you've got any feedback to us, feel free to sort of PM us via the Facebook page. We'll pick it up. We just wish you a beautiful evening or day wherever you are in the world, and just to celebrate who you are, because you're all uniquely beautiful and precious. Take care. Have a good evening, Croy.
And you.
Bye.